Welcome to Mechs on Deck. It's Wednesday, it's 8 p.m. A little after 8, but as always, we're here. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. Metallic Charles, welcome. Iwani, welcome. Venin, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a little bit. Containment Unit, welcome. And Jeff, how is everyone doing? Did you all have a good hump day? Jimmy, how was your day so far?
Busy but good. Nothing crazy. We just work got a little busier. But other than that, yesterday, I'm bright now. I got a giant light that's like almost 4 times the size of my old one. So no more dark Chewy. Happy about that.
No more dark Chewy.
I'm just gonna sit there like this. I just saw the picture that you used.
Yeah, I asked. So Jay, who is our guest tonight, he is the general manager of the Overwatch League team, the Toronto Defiant. Currently driving from New York City, correct, to Toronto. Is that right, Jay?
Yeah, I'm actually in Canada now, so I'm almost to Toronto. It was a long day of driving.
It sounds like it. He's telling us earlier it's been a long day. Maybe some cops were involved for a little bit of it, but he's getting there safe and sound. But first, before we get started, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. You can go to zapcables.com, pick yourself up a cable. He's going to be changing it up a little bit. He's going to have some in-stock cables from here on out. It's not going to be the kind of custom runs anymore, but he's still going to run DIY kits. So he's a big focus on DIY kits in 2020. So definitely check that out. As well as he's got some pretty cool desk mats. I know he's got a couple out of stock, but the Flash one is still one of my favorites. It looks awesome. It's really cool. If you like American traditional tattoo art, check out the Flash desk mat.
Yeah, next up, Dixie Mech. You can go to mechsondeck.dixiemech.com, pick up GMK Burgundy Round 3. It's about this is the halfway point. So make sure to go ahead and grab that. It's a great set. So great colors, great set. There's a reason it's round 3.
Next up, we got Project Keyboard. Head on over to the link listed below. Project Keyboard / reference equals Mechs on Deck. Sirius is out of stock right now, but they will be restocking soon. But the group buy for the Tengu runs until the 8th of February. Pick yourself up one of those if you want a gasket mount Alice style board, available in polycarb and then a couple colors in aluminum. So check those out there.
Yeah, so last but not least, you can go to switchmod.net/mechsondeck for 4% off your lube orders. And coming this Saturday, I believe, it will be GMK Metaverse V2, round 2, version 2, I guess. I don't know what I should probably know what they're calling it, but looks awesome. I mean, it's a very popular set. A lot of people. It's GMK Metaverse 2. It's just called 2. So we have, as well as that, for those listening, we have a pretty cool promo going. So it's a $115 base kit, and you can get $5 off that base kit if you use our promo code switchmod.net/chewy or switchmod.net/ or Osiris. So and that gets you an extra $5 off already pretty inexpensive kit. I have in here a new command. There is hashtag meta Chewy, hashtag meta Osiris.
There you
go. That Osiris is with a 0. I am banking on people not remembering that.
So bookmark one of those, whichever one you want to use. It is a little friendly competition. There's going to be a prize for the winner and a punishment for the loser.
I think I know a good prize punishment.
Oh yeah, what's that?
I think the loser should have to buy the winner a keycap set.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be Metaverse because personally I don't like sub legends. But I think in the next 6 months that the winner would have to get to be ordered a keycap set base kit. Base kit. A base kit.
You mean I can't
of their
just get
choosing.
you? I can't just get you the ISO or just the numpad
Just the he kit
from Olivia Plus Plus. Yeah, here's
So
26 caps of just the word "hi" over and over
just
again.
that. So yeah, friendly little competition. And so yeah, be sure to check that stuff out. Get him just the arrow cluster. Get him like the what was it from GMK Dual Shot? It's like
Oh,
arrow
yeah.
keys, like a couple of things. So, but yeah, be sure to check that out, guys. Metaverse, awesome set. Good. It's one of those sets that looks good on everything. So, but yeah, Jay, Overwatch team, Toronto Defiant. I'm sure there are a lot of you that are into keyboards as well as into gaming. For those who don't know, Overwatch is a very popular first-person shooter made by Blizzard. Came out a few years ago and has been very popular. And he is on the pro team, the OWL or Overwatch League, for the team Toronto Defiant. So Jay, welcome to the show, man.
Oh, thank you. Sorry if the audio quality is not as I would have liked it, but I have to do whatever I can on through while I'm driving.
No worries, man. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate you, even though you're driving, still being down to come on and hang out with us for a little bit. Can you? So I'm assuming not everyone in the chat knows what you do and or necessarily even who you are. It's one of the first times we've had someone that's more not a vendor or a designer or something like that. So can you tell a little bit about who you are, how you got into keyboards, and what do you do for the Toronto Defiant?
So my name is Jason Wan. I'm the general manager for the Overwatch League at Toronto Defiant, which like which is a competitive first-person shooter team-based game that is right now, as of season 3, which is coming up, is going to be city-based. So there was all the team basically represent different cities, but for season 1 and 2, we all played out of Los Angeles because that's where the Blizzard Arena was. For this coming season, instead, we'll be traveling to each other's cities and competing that way, sort of like traditional sports teams.
Nice.
Now, what do I do for the team? A general manager is kind of a complicated role. A lot of it has to do with the administrative and logistical side of the team. So, handling their traveling, paperwork, anything to do with logistics, their flights, hotels. Sorry about that. But, generally anything to do admin-wise or logistic-wise for the team, I'm in charge of, as well as being the liaison between the team and the Overwatch League itself, run by Blizzard. How I got into custom keyboards is, so I have a friend, his name is AJ. He used to be the general manager for the Echo Fox fighting game division, and he was really into he still is into custom keyboards, and he had been talking to me about it, and then I started watching some streams and YouTube videos on it, and I got hooked. That's pretty much how I got into it. So,
Yeah, there's always that one friend that just says, "Hey, you should look this up," and then you're like, "Thanks for letting me spend this much money." So
yeah, that's true. It's not a cheap hobby to get into.
No, it's not, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of those things you can really it's a safe investment, I like to think, because most everything holds its value. Not very many things do you buy and then it sells for less than you bought it for. If anything, you pretty much get your money back. If not, maybe make a little bit on keyboards. So it's not a crazy terrible hobby to get into. Like Chewy and myself have been into Magic before, which was like basically throwing money at cardboard and then selling it for pennies.
Yeah, I mean, collectible card games It's a gamble, obviously.
Mm.
You hope your cards go up in value, but generally they tend to depreciate for some reason.
But yeah, so not sure if you're familiar with this, but we do we start every kind of interview or session with a guest with a fast four, going through four things and your top four of each. So the first one will be your top four favorite switches.
So my top four favorite switches. Number one would definitely be Vintage Blacks, followed by Gateron Inks, and then probably inks. I like Silent Inks also. One because Silent Inks happen to be better for when I'm around my wife because she's a light sleeper and mechanical keyboards can be a little loud. And then finally for probably my fourth one, it's going to be either a toss up between Silence V2 or Helios.
All about
Man.
them silent switches.
My wife uses a box Jade build, so we don't have that problem of loud keyboards of being disturbed by loud keyboards.
She's the loud one. Is
Exactly. So. She likes the clicks, man, and I get it. So. But next up, your top four favorite keyboards.
My top four favorite keyboards. I do have a couple of keyboards on order, which I'm very excited about. But of the ones I have, probably my favorite is the PGR Proto. And then my second favorite is probably my Lin Whale Special. My third favorite keyboard is probably my which is actually kind of funny because it's actually a stock keyboard, which I like to use for traveling. It's a Leopold 750C. It's the one that uses doesn't use the MX switches, but uses a Topra.
Topra, yeah.
And then probably my fourth favorite keyboard is probably my Alice clone, but the Polycarp clone by Switch Couture.
Nice. Nice. And then next up will be your top four favorite key sets.
My top four favorite key sets. I did get into the Olivia group buy because I entered custom keyboards after the first initial round of Olivia was already gone. But of my current key sets that I do have on hand, I think my Modern Dolce is probably my favorite, followed by probably I like the simple one, white on black a lot. And I also like my Modern Dolce and white on black. I do like camping, GMK camping, the first one, not round two. I think GMK camping is great. And then my last.
Damn right.
My fourth favorite key set is probably. That's hard because I like a lot of GMK key sets, but I think I like GMK Striker a lot. I know. I think Chewy said he doesn't like Sub Legends a lot, but I kind of like the stark contrast, bright white on very like navy black, I guess. He based it off like the Japanese pro soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's a hobby of preference. There's nothing wrong with some Sub Legends. There is one key set with Sub Legends I would own would be Bento. I do. That kind of goes with that theme, but yeah, overall Sub Legends are it's busy.
I think you and Chewy just became best friends, Jay, because two of his favorite sets of all time are Modern Dolce and Camping.
Modern Dolce is right here. Camping's not on a board right now; it's sitting in a bag.
It's
waiting.
It's waiting.
It's waiting. It's
Soon enough.
waiting to be properly remounted on the exact same keyboard, but with a different plate and switch, different PCB and switches. Anyway, last of the top four favorite foods.
Probably my favorite food for one would be Korean food because it's like comfort food for me because I grew up on it. Then followed by Japanese food, then probably like really good Mechs as my third favorite, and my fourth would be like well, I'm from New York City, so a really good slice of pizza does it for me. I'm pretty picky about that.
Can't go wrong with pizza.
The question: are you a fold guy? Do you fold the pizza, the New York slice?
Yes, I do. I do fold the New York slice.
Good. That's what I do. You gotta fold it.
We don't need none of those freaking fork and knife users. Like, what is that? Just fold it in half, pick it up.
My dad we go eat what's it called? Not Mediterranean. What's the name of that place that's in Carrollton?
Costas?
No. It's like real thin, but they cook it like on a stone or whatever. I don't know why I can't think of the name of this type of pizza.
Neapolitan?
Yes. Thank you. Neapolitan pizza. My dad will sit there with a fork and knife. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like embarrassed to be around you right now.
Just pick it up.
Like the equivalent of him using a fork and knife on pizza would be the same as if I had like went to a steak restaurant and ate it with my hands. Like, it's that ass backwards. So, and off the clack, emote fish. Thank you for the follows. Welcome to the channel. So, moving into so we've talked about your friend costing you hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars in the keyboard community. What got you into esports? What friend got you into esports?
No, so a friend did not get me into esports. So it all depends on which, I guess, part of my esports career you're talking about. About over 20 years ago, I used to be a player when I was younger. So I was a signed player, but not in anything that had to do with keyboards. I was in fighting games. I was basically competed for about 4 years, but this is like when there was very little money in competitive gaming in general. So I basically got out of that. I was in the, but then I was in the army for almost a decade. And then when I was getting out of the army, my friend who worked at Blizzard asked me if I wanted to get into the closed beta of Overwatch. I said sure, because I had a lot of time on my hands. And so while playing the closed beta of Overwatch, I got to meet a lot of pros. I talked to some of them while they were streaming. And then I became close with a bunch of them. And then one of them had basically made a competitive team. And he had asked me if I could manage them and help them find a organization to sign them. And so I did. I had a lot of time on my hands. I was getting out of the army. So they got signed, and I got signed with them to Splice. And they were the first iteration of the Splice Overwatch team. And then I was with Splice for about a year before they closed down their Overwatch division, because this is before the Overwatch League. So before the Overwatch League started and after the launch of Overwatch, it was kind of like almost like the Dark Ages Overwatch, where there was not much going on, basically because it was ramping up for the launch of the Overwatch League. So when we closed down the Overwatch division in Splice, I still stayed on. I eventually became the assistant general manager, and then I became head of all North American teams and partnerships. And then when Splice joined up with Overactive Media to make a bid for the Overwatch League Season 2, I naturally basically progressed back into the game, which I had signed on with Splice in the first place, which was Overwatch.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember that like old Splice roster with like Chewy, you'll know this name. Didn't it? It had Steel on it, right? For a while, the former CS:GO player, right? Wasn't he on that?
Yes, Steel was on that roster. There's actually a lot of people that are currently in the Overwatch League that used to be on that roster. Flame was on that roster, and he's the general manager for the Houston Outlaws. They're called Clockwork, who's now a coach on the Houston Outlaws, and then the captain of the team was Pure. He actually works in the NBA 2K League.
it's crazy how many people like got in right at the beginning and are still in it in some form or fashion. I know there's very few players that are still in from like the OG times, the beta times, but there's still a lot of players that are involved in some way. It's cool how that all works.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that were in originally that either transitioned towards coaching or I guess in Flames position. He moved on to management.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that being said, once your friend got you into this crazy hobby that is mechanical keyboards, what was the first board that you got? What was your first custom mechanical keyboard?
So my first custom mechanical keyboard was a Rama. It was a Koyu. And I really loved the Rama. But I think at the time, like, I don't have that board anymore, but I do have a Rama board on the thermal.
Okay.
I'm very excited for the thermal ever since I saw it on stream and the whole, like, I guess the uniqueness about the mounting on the thermal. But yeah, the Rama board was my first board because when I first got into it, I didn't want to solder anything. So I went for something that had sockets. I could just put in switches and my life would be easy. Obviously, at the same time, I want to loop my first switches, and I will say that the first time I ever looped switches, it took way longer than I thought it would. Like I watched like an entire season of Stranger Things while doing it, but yeah.
That's how it is. Like, I feel like when I first looped switches, one, I used something that's not really actually supposed to be used for looping switches, and then two, it took significantly longer because I was lubing some Kale switches and I didn't have a switch opener, and those are like terrible to try to open without a switch opener. So definitely feel you there for that one.
Yeah, the first time I lubed switches, I didn't have a lube station, which is not like you don't need a lube station, but it really speeds up that process of going like grab the bottom, do that, grab the top, do that, put the spring in, put the whole thing together. That's like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes per switch, and then it's a lot of like, oh, I dropped this, now I gotta redo it. Oh, I dropped this, gotta redo it. It was tough.
Absolutely.
It was tough. Still using it though. That's what these switches are from that first. The second time I ever lubed switches was the Holy Jesus switches.
That's right. Man. That feels like so long ago, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, a little over a year, but yeah, not. A lot of boards have come out. A lot of keycap group buys since.
It's been crazy. The community's been growing like crazy. So Jay, I know you've had quite a few players. I know we talked a couple months ago, and you were like, yeah, none of the players are really into customs. I know you've had quite a few roster moves this off season. Are any of your players now into customs? Are they getting that itch at all from you?
So all of them got to try out my Linwell special. It uses I have vintage blacks on it that are spring swapped and also switch film, as well as being lube. So like, they really enjoyed the feel of it. Obviously, it's very different than what they're used to because, to be fair, like most professional gamers, just use whatever the peripherals they can get for free generally. Like, so a lot of peripheral companies like Corsair, Razer, Logitech, they want the players to use their product. So a lot of players are just used to getting like a bunch of like Logitech keyboards or Razer keyboards. I know that sounds terrible in the view of any like person that uses custom keyboards, but that's just what they're used to because especially when it comes to people that play FPS games, they tend to focus more on the mouse than the keyboard. The keyboard is sort of like a luxury item for them in terms of like it's the secondary thing on their mind after the mouse and the mouse pad, right? Because focus more on aiming and everything else. But I do know that at least like two of my players are interested in getting a custom keyboard. They are a little like they were a little shocked by how much it can cost to get into custom keyboarding. Um, like and they're still used to like the general like old school switches. Like I think 90% of them all use MX Reds. You know, I know it's that's just the generic speed.
And they're probably unlubed too. Just
oh yeah, totally unlubed. Just stock MX Red, loud as heck, like just
rattly stabs, like yeah.
They're incredibly rattly stabs. I do know like a couple of my players have switched to Leopolds because they just like the quality of the pre-made board. I know one of them like tried out the Topper key, and he liked it. It's something they just have to get used to. And when you're competing all the time, sometimes you're afraid to switch over, right? So, there is that. But I do know like a couple of them are interested in getting it for just their personal setup and just like have like something nice to look at.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Surefour would be pretty big in the artisan game. I'm sure if he saw some of the sculpts, I bet he sees a couple of the shishis that you have, and he's like, man, I'd like one of those. I feel like that's his jam.
Yeah, probably. He'd probably get into it later on, right? Obviously, he was using a Ducky, and now he's using a Logitech one. But he switches a lot. But like his mouse, he's very. A lot of them are picky on using mice from a while ago. It's just hard. It becomes a good mouse because this is what they're used to and what they're comfortable with, and their muscle memory is attuned to that mouse. Sometimes it's annoying to have to like constantly switch, especially if a manufacturer stops making that mouse.
Absolutely.
So I guess Jay, we'll let you answer this one, as I'm sure you have the most. As you take care of the team, but Brez1623 asks, are there any rules around what players can use for keybs and mice in the league?
So for mice, there's no real rules. So it actually changed a little from last 2 seasons to now. The last 2 seasons when we were all in Los Angeles, what they could use on stage had to be sent to Blizzard directly from the manufacturer or the vendor. They didn't want anything to have actually went to the teams first, because obviously it's sort of like competitive integrity in terms of there are cheats and mods out there that people have put in cheating software onto hardware before. Now, for this year, because it's not a centralized location, it's based off every homestead. The teams are supposed to bring the player peripherals with them, where before their actual match, it'll get inspected. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of limitations involved. Like if you're going to modify something for a mouse, which does happen a lot. A player may have a mouse that uses batteries in it, and they'll actually modify it to a smaller lithium battery that requires an adapter inside the thing. And really, they're just losing a couple grams, but every amount of weight loss tends to be a competitive advantage for the player. Now, for keyboards, they tend to not want us to modify anything, so I don't think custom keyboards are going to be a real thing because of competitive integrity, because the IT departments have to basically vet whatever you're bringing with you. So. But obviously, when they're at their home setups, they can use whatever they want. I think a good example of this is Pengu, who actually has a TGR keyboard. I think he has a Keycult.
Yeah, he has a Keycult
125 that was made by Teja. Now, the thing is, he won't use that keyboard for competition. He'll use a different keyboard. Because he used MX Browns, it'll still be MX Browns on whatever he competition. But generally, most leagues like League of Legends or Watch League, they want sealed product that the IT department can see opened in front of them.
Yeah, and it makes sense. From outside looking in, I know Osiris is way more in tune with the competitive nature, and going. he's a lot more just in general more picky of what he's using when it comes to mouse, keyboard, and all that stuff. But I can see how, you know, it's goofy when you're like, oh, I want to get these great keyboards with great switches, but I also want to practice how I play, and you want to make sure that you're not, if you're changing all the time, you know, and you're playing at that high of a level where everything matters. You know, for me, I can switch a keyboard in between rounds of Overwatch and be fine, but I'm also not playing professional Overwatch. I'm playing quick play with my friends, so it doesn't really matter. But I can definitely see how that can be limiting, and also as well as like, as much as it would be awesome they could use custom keyboards, and then you could start really getting into some cool like little sponsorships through other companies, and that would be a good way for our community to grow. If you don't have someone there, you know, you can QMK a lot of crazy stuff, and it could be hard to catch that. So I completely understand. It'd be cool if they made like a PCB that just like auto, you could just flash it on the back, and it's like, hey, we're gonna flash what we want on there, and then you have to do it. But then you run into a lot more issues of like flash, and what if you just brick the keyboard right in front of them, and all of that. So
the player just has to go in front of the IT team for Blizzard and has to sit there and build the keyboard in front of them. Like,
I'm coming in 3 hours early.
I would say because most custom keyboards are bespoke items, the closest manufacturer that I could get, that I think would get to like building it in mass and maybe able to do a full complete package product would probably be Rama Works in general. You know, they tend to build a lot of things in a lot of heavy quantities, you know, and they do it with like, you know, the quality control is very high, obviously. So, you know, like if they just do like pre-builds, like even if you can still hot swap it, but if they say they pre-built it for, you know, people like, hey, this is just gonna come with, you know, Gatoronics, but it's already on it, and you can switch it out if you want. But you know, when you get the package, it's gonna already have the keyboard. You just have to put keycaps on it. You know, that could be a thing also.
yeah,
I feel like out of all the keyboard manufacturers, they tend to be the furthest along in terms of able to creating a large supply of keyboards, even though at the same time, I can't imagine, you know, smaller, more bespoke companies like Keybolt doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only one that I've actually seen on stage, and this was in season 1, the only one that I've seen that was like of recognizable in terms of like being somewhat of a more custom option is that Bishu, who was an off tank for the Los Angeles Gladiators, for chat who may not know that, he used a drop alt, I believe, on stage for a couple matches. So that's kind of like the only thing. And there's a couple other players that use like some more like smaller, like unknown, less known brand keyboards. Like one of the players from the Shock uses the Mistel, the Barco, I think is what it's called. It's like the split one, the split 60. But other than that, it's like it's pretty much just Corsair. Lot of Logitech. Logitech is like the biggest player in Overwatch. It's kind of funny.
Mouse and keyboard.
And they're because their mice are very popular, and a lot of players like to use the G Pro wireless. Very good, solid all around.
So
I remember Bishu. Bishu does like having some different keyboards. He's ordered different ones before, as well as he tries out like different mice all the time. And it's Moth, the player from San Francisco Shock that uses the split.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was like, wait, what? When I first saw it, because he like actually has it split. Like he has the second half is kind of like up further, and he's just got the one small half, the left half in front of him. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool little deal. So
yeah, it just stinks that like I wish, you know, I get the competitive integrity part, but I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool just to see like hey, just play with what you're comfortable with, and be
I
able
know
to-
one of my players. He's my main tank, Beast. He is interested in getting a custom keyboard. I think he likes the 65 form factor. But he very much, he likes to look up certain things. Like he really likes GMK Mizu. I know the extras come out tomorrow, and he was asking me to let him know when the extras come out because he wanted to pick it up. But the funny question is, he was just like, when he was asking me about, building out a keyboard, he was just like, so, I know there's a lot of different switches out there, and he's just like, what's the closest I can get to MX Browns? Just because that's what they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
MX Browns.
Just get him Browns or Gatoron Browns, honestly.
Gatoron Browns or MX.
Yeah.
I mean, a Gatoron Browns lubed, it would be better than stock MX.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like if you lubed Gatoron Browns, though, you might run the risk of it being less tactile than. You should let him know.
Yeah, it might feel squishy to him, or it all depends on if you lose light lube. Obviously, it depends. I can let him test out some of their lube and see if he likes it. Obviously.
Tell him to let us know. We'd be happy to build a board for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Definitely.
And hopefully you can get on those Mizu. Those Mizu extras can be difficult to obtain.
They can
The
be.
extras.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna be up for like 15 minutes and be gone, maybe even less.
If that, yeah, it's like Mizu's a pretty hype set. So I'm hoping, hope for the best for him to be able to get them. I was lucky enough to snag one, and I definitely worth it. I'm glad that blue came out. Like the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I don't really know. Then once I saw the pictures, I was like, oh, okay, like this looks better than the Raiders. So twice as many as you ever had before. So Dixie's in chat right now. The man who runs Dixie Mech, who's where Mizu sold, says twice as many sets as ever before. So your window is looking at about 3 to 4 minutes instead of 1 to 2 minutes. So that's you.
Hey, that's not too bad. I mean, it's not terrible.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be able to get you set up with one for Beast. That is interesting. So could they use like GMK keycaps if they wanted to for on stage?
Yeah, so since that's such the visual thing, they could use it for their stage competition thing. Possibly for this season, they may want to see them actually put it on. Like for last season, if you had to do any modification to your peripheral, like you had to do it in front of the IT department. You had to see what was actually happening. But because it is a keycap set and it's just it's just aesthetics, I don't think there'll be such a big issue.
I just imagine being like some guy just staring at you the entire time. You're like, okay, just replacing keycaps, and it's like, don't touch anything, bro. Nothing.
Well, because I was involved in the Dallas homestand last year, and I remember they had like a big trunk that had like everything for all the players. It just had boxes of peripherals, and they were all marked and stuff. I was like, dang, it's just like it's like heaven back here if you're into like mice and stuff. They had like everything back there. But that talking about keycaps, like that kind of gets back into kind of how you and I first came into contact with each other, Jay, and that was there was a Reddit post on competitive Overwatch, r/competitive Overwatch, talking about getting custom keycap sets made for each team. And someone, I think you can do it through like WASD, I think is how you can get them for pretty inexpensive. And I was like, people, just get GMK sets. They're more expensive, but they're way better. And we kind of compiled a list. So it'd be interesting to see if like a whole team could get like a set of of GMK for the whole team to match.
Just 50 sets a person.
I mean, to be fair, like Defiant's colors are kind of easy among the GMK sets. I mean, our primary colors are red and black, and our secondary colors are gray and white. So I mean, to fit those color pattern color sets color schemes in general is pretty easy for us. And even like the new Florida Mayhem is just switched to Miami Vice colors, and there's plenty of GMK Miami. There is GMK Miami Vice on, but even like Tokyo Knights is kind of similar as well.
Yeah. Sounds like GMK Modern Adults would work easy. So, also, another one, Metaverse. Boom.
Yeah,
Black,
Metaverse,
red, white.
red, and white.
That is black, red, and white, so it does fit, our color scheme very well. I will say though, like, I did get into a lot of group buys, and I'm just waiting for them. I feel like I need to slow down a bit. I won't have enough keyboards to fit all. But that's the whole beauty of it. You get to switch out. Like I got into like the 8008 round 2, the 9009, the Dracula, TMK Dracula. A lot of them on Dixie Men. I will admit.
Are you sponsored by Dixie? Like,
no, I'm not.
To be fair,
if you want to be, I'm sure Dixie would be happy to have a little chat with Toronto Defiant.
The first time, actual professional esports team would be probably fully sponsored by a custom keyboard.
I'm sure Dixie would love to have the little Dixie, his logo somewhere on the Toronto Defiant jersey. That'd be that would be quite a sight to see if something like that ever happened.
The Dixie heart right over the heart. That's what it needs to be.
So of the key sets that you're waiting on, what are you looking forward to most? Which one?
I really like the 9009 colorways. I don't know, just sort of something that was inspired by a sports bra. I think that the colors are great. I always liked the Olivia, but I didn't want to get in the aftermarket, so I'm pretty hyped for Olivia Plus Plus. But I would say out of the third I'm most excited about would be Dracula.
Nice. Those are all pretty awesome sets. I'm in for 8008. Not in for Dracula.
I'm excited to see what Dracula comes out. I feel like that's a set that I'll probably wind up once it comes out, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna have to go shell out some dollars for the extras. But I feel like that's a set, it looks great. But the other thing is I'm also not worried about being able to find a set of GMK Dracula because there's 3,000 base kits sold. So I'm sure I'll be able to pick up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was a pretty popular set along with 9009.
Yeah. Dixie was pumping out bangers over and over again.
Bangers.
1,000 plus kits sold for 7 months in a row. Something crazy like that. It's pretty nuts. So with season 3 fast approaching, we're T-minus 3 weeks. I don't know if y'all have game. Yeah, I don't think y'all have games the first week, but you excited for all the traveling?
No, none of us are excited for all the traveling. I know the players, are excited to see different cities, but obviously nobody's excited for constantly being on planes, living out of hotel rooms, as well as jet lag. Luckily, we don't. Majority of our games are along, not far from the East Coast. We do have a game in Houston as well, and then some games in Europe. It's just that we get into, I think, the last quarter of our season is when we're in Asia for about a month. That's where we're going to be based out of China, and obviously that's going to affect the players the most in terms of time zone change. But I will admit, I'm pretty confident that my players are pretty resilient. They're a great set of guys. They work really hard, so I think we'll be fine. Obviously, with a league like this and with the new format, people very much worry about burnout and the players' health, especially when switching over that many time zones. But I have a great staff behind me, and I have a great group of guys that they generally all the players try to stay pretty healthy, and they try to sleep a good number of hours per night. They don't try to delve too much into generate gamer hours, so it's not too bad.
Absolutely. Well, and luckily, like we were talking about earlier, a lot of the players in the league are pretty young. A lot of the ones on the Defiant they're still, pretty young for comparison's sake to most of us. But they're a lot more experienced than some of the other teams. Like you've got a lot of guys that have been in league since it started, or at least 2 years, or have been involved in the competitive scene and been a pro for a long time. So I think hopefully they'll be able to handle it. Hopefully they won't get too much burnout.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of veterans on the team. We only have one rookie. That's Beast, coming from Fusion University, but he's been in the competitive scene just on tier 2 since inception. So all of them, have a lot of experience. All of them are pretty professional. I'm sure about that.
Nice. So sorry, my if I look like I'm looking around, it smelled like something was burning. I was like, oh shit, I hope something's not on fire. There's a lot of cables behind my desk. I was like, I don't see anything, but whatever. Be a weird stream. I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go put a fire out real quick. My bad. So with travel boards, you're probably not traveling around with like a tank Koyu or anything like that, or maybe Kepler, the greatest travel board of all time. So, but what are you usually grabbing whenever you hit the road?
So generally, when I'm on the road, I grab my Leopold Topra one, just because it's convenient. I think out of the stock keyboard experience, it's my favorite by far. I think just Leopold's quality control is really high, and I just like the feel of Topras, even when the whole unlubed and everything. I just think they're great type feel. So probably that would be my go-to if especially because it's light. It's not heavy. It's not an aluminum board. It's just it's plastic, but still got a pretty good build quality for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've played around with a couple at different meetups, but I've never owned a Leopold. But I know that they do have really really good quality control, and the caps that come on them are actually pretty nice as well, which is a definite plus when you're buying a big brand board or a manufactured board.
Yeah, I mean they're double shot PBT, and I think they feel really great. They're stock caps, so in general, I think Leopold is just a great product. That's why I think 2 of my players did switch when they felt my board. However, instead of using Topra, they still used the MX switches for it, sadly. But at least they upgraded from their old stock razors and whatnot.
You mean they don't want the proprietary Razer Overwatch integration where the board becomes a light show whenever you get your ultimate and whenever you do anything in the game?
Yeah, no. I don't think it's as big a deal for them.
So I guess that does lead me to an interesting question. So there is a stigma. We'll call it a stigma because I think a lot of people would disagree, at least in this hobby, about MX Reds being the best Switch or whatever, enter name of very light linear Switch being the best gamer Switch. How much do you hear from that from players, other teams and all that?
You mean the gamer switches, the switches and
Well, just I guess a preferred Switch. I mean, I don't know how much keyboards. I'm sure by the time they get to that point, it's like they've already kind of found what they liked. But just I guess people talk. We when we were in gaming, it was always MX Reds is the best because it's super duper light and there's no bumps, there's no resistance.
So generally, I think a good 80% of professional players I've known, MX Reds is the go-to. If they go for a stock Switch, it's always been MX Red. You get the occasional that MX Browns, and I have one player that likes his loud-ass MX Blues. Loves his blues, like
Who
he
is
had
that?
reds, and he's like, it's not loud enough. I want my blues. So it was like, that's Kellex.
Oh,
You see
okay.
on the Boston Uprising, yeah.
Man, I was gonna make a joke, but never mind. I don't want to make that joke. Yeah, blues. Come on, man.
There are better switches.
There are definitely better switches. I mean, if
Get
he
them on
wants
some
loud
box
switches,
navies.
there are better loud switches too.
You got to get him on the new Zeal clicky when it comes out. It's gonna be pretty
Game
fancy.
changer.
I didn't know there were Zeal clickies coming out. Really. That's
Yeah,
kinda
so how they're doing it is kind of like the old Alp style. So, what we've seen, what MX Blues are, for those who don't know, is it's a click jacket. So when the switch goes down, when it resets, there's a part of the stem literally comes apart and then clicks back up, and that's what you hear. It's a very annoying and not satisfying sound, in my opinion. And then we got novel keys, click bars. So that's an actual. It looks like a clothespin line. That's just like boop, and it will snap back in place. But now what we're seeing, which I'm really excited about because of the potential that it has, is actually it's the leaf that clicks against stem, and so that kind of throws in, okay, well, if it can do that, now I can start swapping out stems. I can start lubing in different ways. You could potentially, we don't really know the entire design of the switch, but you could swap out tops. There's, in this hobby, we like to try everything, take everything apart, and throw as many different things in it to try and find the next holy panda. And that's just something that everyone's really excited about because it sounds good based on the videos, and it'll be a really cool. No more double click too, so it'll be a cool switch. We're excited for it.
Oh, that sounds really cool. I mean, I recommended to them that they should eventually like experimenting away from the carry switches. But they're hard to they're creatures of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And it's like you said, a lot of these guys, they've been playing video games for 10 years almost, if not longer. Some of them, they've gotten so used to their MX reds, their browns, I guess Kellex and his blues. They don't want to do anything different. They think it might mess them up. They don't know. They don't want to change up too much. So I get it.
Yeah, I'll admit, like when I first had to switch from reds, it took a little getting used to, but then it just after a while it just feels a lot more comfortable. It just takes maybe a day or two of just typing on it a lot to get used to it. But I am picky about the spring, because depending on how far my key travel is, so I tend to I want to spring swap a lot of the switches I use.
Are you a heavier or a lighter spring guy?
I thought I would like something really light, but then I realized I do like a little bit of resistance, so I kind of I found a little good place around the 65 gram weight.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I've been using 63.5 gram springs. They're the stock spring in the Noliv cream, which are basically just a recolored cream linear switch. And those, I actually really like them. That's the lightest switch I own currently, I think. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But they're pretty nice. And I'm enjoying that lighter switch because I'm both Chewy and myself like heavier switches. Chewy likes.
I have 100. I have 103.
Wow, I've tried 100-gram switch, and my fingers are tired after a while.
It's not. I mean, I don't know if you can see our chat. I hope not, because you're driving. Unless you're being driven, I don't know. But I have big sausage fingers and strong hands, so I don't know if I would. What's funny is box navies would wear my hands out, but that was also very early in my keyboarding days, and that's also a lot of tactility you're having to fight as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious to know. But I mean, I've gamed on my creams. Like I've played Overwatch with 100-gram creams. I thought it was so. What's funny is I bought them. Cherry Springs they're marked at actuation. They're not marked at bottom out. So I bought 80-gram cherry MX Springs, and I was like, oh, okay, 80-gram. Typed on them for 5 months before I even realized. I was like, oh, this is not bottom out weight. This is because I bought. It was funny. I bought 85-gram TX Springs, and I was typing. I was like, this does not feel like. This doesn't feel like the creams. I think this is fine, but it doesn't feel. And I put them both together, and I was like, okay, something's wrong. And then I tested it on a scale. I was like, this is 103. And then I was like, oh, I'm dumb because cherry goes by actuation. So yeah, that's how I found out that for like 6 months I used a 100-gram board.
I mean, that makes sense, but you got used to it.
Yeah. Now fingers are just stronger and bigger than ever.
Yeah, now if it's less than 78 grams, it just sounds like Chewie's punching the desk.
70. But what's funny is after building the tofu build for the customer with 74 grams, I was typing on that versus the 70. I was like, nope, gonna go up to 74. Like 70 is just too light.
It's funny you say that because my wife sometimes, like, she listens to me typing and she's like, why do you have to fight your keyboard? I'm like, I'm not fighting my keyboard. She's like, it just sounds like, does I sound like I'm attacking my keys half the time?
But
Absolutely. Well, if anyone in the chat has questions for Jay or us, just make sure to at us at Mechs on Deck. But yeah, ask about Overwatch League. You could ask about Jay's keyboard collection. He sent me a picture of his whale while he was in Korea, and man, that thing is pretty freaking beautiful, man. I'm very jealous of that.
It is a very pretty Lin whale. I would say it's like probably the smoothest keyboard I type on. I do like on my TGR Proto, I use a slightly heavier switch on it. They're both vintage blacks. The Lin whale I think uses 60 gram, while the TGR uses 65 gram. So I kind of like the pushback a little bit more on the TGR, but it's a little louder also. Even though both are lubed and they both use switch films, I will say that I think maybe it's just because of the board construction. The TGR is a little louder than the Lin whale.
Did you I know we had mentioned it, but did you get a chance to check out the TX Keyboards store while you were in Korea?
Yes, I did go by. It is a pretty great store. I didn't get anything because I have a bunch of boards coming in, and you know my TKLs. I feel like I'm good with where I'm at. You know, if I did want another TKL, I'd probably want a Kiko, because I already have a TGR one. I have a Linwell special, and if I had to get a third TKL, it'd probably be a Kiko. Um, I have a good 65 coming. I got in on the group buy from Project Keyboard, the FC 65, the forged carbon one,
Mm-hmm.
and when it comes to 60%, I'm excited for the thermal to come in. So I'm kind of picky about what boards I'm looking into. The Tango board does look interesting because I don't have a split board, but
Yeah, Tengu's pretty freaking cool. We're actually gonna have one here in a couple weeks to build and to do some typing tests for. We're gonna try to get out before the group buy is finished so people can see kind of what it sounds like, and I'm gonna maybe do some comparisons with my OSA.
yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, when you build it, I'll watch the stream. Sounds exciting.
Should be a good time.
yeah, we have a lot of builds coming up. Actually, we were talking about today because we were like, all right, well, we're planning. We like to plan 6 to 8 weeks out. And I was like, in the last 3 weeks, we've obtained like 9 builds, just like through group buys finishing and people hitting us up and other, boards we're getting to build for like prototypes and stuff like that. Like the Tengu just kind of popping. I was like, oh hey, you want to build it? Oh sure, sweet, let's do this. And we went from like, oh we have like a few to like, no, you're good for a while. So build streams Tuesdays 8 p.m. for the foreseeable future. We have a question from 10 Strong asks, have there been any funny keyboard related issues or stories from your time coaching?
Well, never been a coach, but I've been if you're talking about just in esports management,
Mhm.
I
I
assume.
there have been times where keyboards will fail on stage, more than once. And I won't say what the manufacturers are, but obviously, it's always like a pain in the ass because then we got to get them a replacement keyboard. There's always, so whenever you supply a league with a peripheral for the player, you also have to have a backup. So, obviously they got to run back and get the backup, and that always delays the broadcast or whatnot. But yeah, there is plenty of the big name manufacturers out there which have failed on stage. That it happens.
Interesting. Yeah, there's. Oh, I don't think it
Has
was
it-
related to a keyboard, but there was the Great Pause last year, which I think was more of like a mouse issue and then a game issue. Basically, the game was, for those who don't know, during a Dallas Fuel game, the game was paused for like almost 2 hours. It was insane.
Yeah, I remember. It was a hardware issue, but it wasn't a keyboard one. I think it was a game issue for a while, and it was just something they couldn't fix at the time.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like he had something wrong with his mouse, and then the game, it like took too long to fix the mouse, and then so like the custom game like reset or something, and then they just couldn't figure out how to remake the game. Yeah, it was a interesting
sounds fun.
situation.
I got that point. You should be like, listen.
Oh, Ten
Let's
Strong
just
says
restart.
he was there. One of our viewers was at the game. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
It's fine.
Sorry, man.
Have you witnessed someone punch their keyboard hard enough to break it?
Yes, because raging is a thing, and my wife has seen me break my keyboard. So
Hope you're not punching your whale anytime soon.
no, not my custom keyboards. This is what it was, my Nopo Chalk Mini. I did break it. Like I've
Wow.
broken keyboards, controllers, and mice. I try not to, especially because the custom keyboards are pretty expensive. So yeah, I don't rage at them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell one of myself. I've never broken a keyboard because I don't punch things with my left hand, or get angry with my left hand. But I have done my fair share of slamming my mouse on the desk, which I have proceeded to break. I think 3 mice at this point doing that. But I don't. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yep.
So, any other questions in the chat? So what does the next couple weeks look like for you with getting the league kind of started? When's the first matches for the 2020 season?
So I think we're the first match of the season. It's in New York City at the NYXL Homestead. So we're the February 8th, and it's us versus the Paris Eternal. And then we don't have a match the second week, but we do have a one third week at DC, and then we follow that with another homestead in Houston.
Not too much far traveling. That's not anything crazy. You're only bouncing
No,
between.
it's not for another 2 months that we do actually go to like Europe. We go to London and Paris, and then it's near the end of the season is when we're going to be in China.
We did answer this, but we can, Jay, you can quickly answer. Guy is 256K asks, how interested are pro players into custom keyboards?
Once they feel it, they do get very interested, but they are creatures of habit. They tend to want like key switches that are very similar to what they're used to, which is like MX Reds and MX Browns and the occasional MX Blue. But and they are a little off put by how much it costs to get into it. But generally, because you can't use it for actual competitive play, it'd be something only for their home system, like when they're streaming and whatnot.
Yeah, who's the guy that had the Fiel built from Nathan?
Dizzy.
Oh, that's
Dizzy.
Dizzy, but he streams with it, and
Yeah.
I don't think he used the Fiel for actual competitive things.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't travel with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't travel. It's a 5-pound board. It's already heavy.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
as
Tfue. we saw
Tfu's getting the key cult. But those both are like mainly streamers too. Like I know Tfu's like he's pro Fortnite, but that's not really an esport. Like they have like 2 events a year. So
It's a competitive game, but not much esport. Sweaty Yeti, thank you for the 100 bits.
all right, so it sounds like Jay's data is about to go out here as he kind of crosses over the border. So let's go ahead and get into our last 2 questions. What is your favorite and least favorite thing about the community right now?
About the custom keyboard community,
Yes, sir.
probably my favorite things is like how easy it is to talk to people. Including you. We talked. We got into it about like GMK key sets for sets, but like just generally like anything on our mechanical keyboards and all those people that I've talked to, they've been very just because we all have like a common hobby that we enjoy. They've been all very open to just talk about like if I had questions about what I needed in terms of and like keyboard like key feel and just being very open and welcoming to anybody that wanted to come into it. Uh, Probably the thing I least like about it is because now that it's slowly becoming, a lot more less niche and more mainstream, especially with the popularity of like some streamers like Teja. There's a lot of people I think that are in it now, and they tend to like inflate the market by just flipping, and I don't like that. But I would say that's my favorite and my least favorite thing.
So we usually this is usually our second one very last question from 10 Strong. What would be attractive to pro gamers in a custom keyboard?
Um, from what I've seen, the funny thing is it tends to be aesthetics. They really like, different key sets, especially because they're so used to just like whatever bare stock bones they have, and that's always just black with like, see-through legends. And a good keycap set, they tend to really appreciate. So something like just double shot in general, even if it's ABS like GMK or double shot PBT, they appreciate the feel of that.
So, and then last question: The Office or Parks and Recreation?
So my wife is definitely Parks and Rec, and I think I lean a little more towards The Office, but I like both a lot.
Yeah, it's like asking to choose between your favorite kid. Like they're both amazing.
Yeah, it's very true. I do love both shows. I think she prefers Parks and Rec a little, and I prefer The Office.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I know that. Thank you for making it work with Drive. I appreciate that. I'm just going to roll through our sponsors real quick. Dixie Mech. You can go to mechsondeck.dixiemech.com to pick up GMK Burgundy Round 3. Zap Cables to go keep an eye out on in stock cables, as well as some awesome desk mats. Switchmod.net/Mechs on deck for 4% off all of your lube and spring needs, as well as you can do switchmod.net/Chewy or switchmod.net/Osiris for the upcoming Metaverse 2 group buy. And last but not least, Project Keyboards. You can click the link and chat to go get yourself a Tengu, which is an Alice layout board with gaskets, as well as keep an eye out on the Sirius, as those will be stocking soon.
Absolutely. And Jay, thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it. Know you're a busy man. Good luck in the 2020 season. I hope that you win all of your matches and that everything goes incredibly well. Oh, did we lose him?
Oh, I
Lose him?
appreciate
Oh, there
it.
he
Thank
is.
you. Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. It was great.
Yeah, I just chose my favorite Overwatch team by color combination, but you know what? Now I'm a Toronto Defiant man. So let's go Defiant.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Every fan counts. Yeah.
So, and be sure to check us out next week. We've got just check our Discord for the announcement, as we do have a very minor schedule change for next week that we'll be announcing this weekend. And thank y'all very much. And is there anybody live? It's like I am me, you are you is live.
I already
We'll go
set
ahead
it
and
up.
start that raid. There we go.
So we are going to raid I am me, you are you. And yeah, we will be back. I believe it's Tuesday for another stream. We'll let you know what it is.
We're gonna blast Go Defiant in this chat and really confuse him.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and y'all have a good night, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday.
Yeah. Thank you.